A best friend sent my husband photos of two lace nightgowns, asking which one looked better. My husband's reply was sharp, mocking, not interested in the clothes. The person wearing them is pretty ugly anyway. Stay away from people like her. Curiosity, or maybe suspicion, got the better of me, and I unlocked his phone. The password was my birthday right below his pin. On WeChat, there she was, Emma. She had the audacity to send him two photos, a black strapless nightgown and a pink slip dress, both scantlessly low-cut.
How dare she?
I muttered under my breath. But then I saw Michael's reply and couldn't help but laugh. He had typed the exact words I'd just read aloud. Not interested in the clothes. The person wearing them is pretty ugly. Turning to him, I smiled teasingly. Are the clothes really that bad? He arched an eyebrow. If you agree to wear them, I'll have all the latest styles sent home tomorrow. That night, exhaustion weighed me down like a heavy blanket, while Michael left for work looking refreshed as ever. By morning, I thought it was over, especially since Michael had blocked her. He explained that Emma's contact had been passed to him by a business partner for a project she was joining. Since then, their exchanges had been nothing but polite greetings. He seemed genuinely surprised at how forward she had been. Last night, probably liquid courage made her lose her mind, he said, shaking his head. I tried to push her from my mind, but 2 days later, she sent me a drunk selfie. The detail that caught my attention wasn't her flushed cheeks or messy hair. It was the coat. The exact coat Michael had worn that very morning. My detective instincts kicked in. I zoomed in, examining every crease, every shadow. The wrinkles, the slightly darker corners, they weren't Michael's doing. His OCD and perfectionism demanded flawlessly pressed clothes. Our housekeeper bore the brunt of that obsession, so this coat clearly hadn't come from him. The door clicked open, and our dog Buddy barreled out, barking in excitement. I glanced up and saw Michael stepping in, casually handing his bag to the housekeeper before scooping Buddy into his arms. He was in a dark brown shirt, no coat in sight. He leaned in to kiss me, but I sidestepped, arms crossed. Do I smell like I've been drinking? He asked, frowning. I glared. Where's your coat? His expression darkened instantly, eyes sharp with disgust. Someone deliberately spilled red wine on me at today's business dinner. I found it disgusting and threw the coat away the moment I could. Emma, she really does have all kinds of tricks. I've got her, don't worry. I watched as his phone screen lit up. His fingers moved fast, blocking Emma on my phone too. If she's involved in this project, I'm out, he said, jaw tight. I grabbed his wrist, shaking it lightly. Isn't that too easy on her? Since she wants to throw herself at you so badly, why not give her a chance? His eyes narrowed, but he didn't respond. Instead, he pulled me close and I realized this wasn't about the clothes or even about her. It was about Michael and the unshakable certainty that no one would ever mess with what was his. Michael looked helpless, clearly wondering why anyone would waste time on her. I raised an eyebrow, letting the moment stretch. This way, we can settle it once and for all, I said lightly. He opened his mouth, but I cut him off.
No.
Let's not talk about irrelevant people. Michael leaned toward me, but I pushed him back, then sprang off the couch. Before he could react, I dashed to the bedroom and locked the door behind me. His stunned expression froze in the hallway. You're sleeping alone tonight, I called over my shoulder, grinning through the door. Perfect time to reflect on why you'd give someone an opportunity. Outside, Michael ground his teeth. Sara, my heart fluttered, but I felt safe behind the sturdy door. I muttered to myself, amused. Tonight, he's got all that energy to himself. Finally, I can get a proper night's sleep. Morning came, and Michael left with a sour face. I couldn't help smirking. His employees, however, were about to feel the brunt of his temper, and, by fate or misfortune, Emma would be right in the middle of it. Around 10, my phone buzzed. Grace, Michael's secretary, had messaged, "Boss's wife, come save us." What happened? I typed back. Michael's about to blow up the conference room. Please hurry, she replied. Embarrassed, I hurried to the office, half expecting to burst in and be the cause of the chaos myself. The moment I stepped in, everyone turned, hopeful, almost as if I were a lifeline. I leaned toward Grace. Who is Michael meeting with? She whispered. The real estate project developer. I don't know why Mr. Wilson is so furious today. He's tearing apart their presentation, won't even let a punctuation mark slide. I froze, swallowing awkwardly. Clients were present, and it was not my place to interfere. Maybe I should head back. I said, forcing a nervous laugh. Grace grabbed my arm. Boss's wife. If Mr. Wilson keeps this up, we'll lose the entire project. This is the downtown district. Our year-end bonuses depend on you. Before I could protest, a knock on the conference room door drew Michael's impatient voice. Come in. I took a deep breath, bracing myself, and stepped inside. To my surprise, mystery eyes, Emma was there too. My gaze flicked to the projection screen, and I realized she was the one Michael had been criticizing all along. Seeing me, Emma wiped her tears quickly, snapping. We're discussing business here. What are you doing? Michael stood, and his demeanor shifted entirely. Warm, gentle, protective. What's wrong? Is everything okay at home? I shook my head and smiled sweetly, letting the charm in my voice soften the tension. It's already noon. You might not be hungry, but the clients are. We should give them some face. Glancing at Emma, I added casually, your work, it's a little hard to look at, but we still have to respect the clients. You just like being so direct. Emma's face flushed with anger. She stood abruptly, only for me to slip behind Michael, who turned to her, expressionless. Immediately, she shrank back, unsure of herself. Michael addressed the developers. Mr. Johnson, my oversight. Let's eat first. The man nodded quickly, and everyone began to rise. But then Michael's gaze snapped to Emma, trailing behind. Miss Emma, please stay here. I've arranged for someone to order you a box lunch. Emma stared at him, disbelief written all over her face. Why? Michael's expression was calm, unreadable, and in that moment, it was clear, no one, not even Emma, would cross him, and I was right there, by his side. Michael's voice cut through the conference room like ice. Because your work needs significant revision. While we're at lunch, you'll have time to fix the errors I've marked. Emma's hands trembled as she clutched her presentation folder. But I haven't eaten since. The box lunch will arrive in 15 minutes, Michael interrupted, his tone leaving no room for argument. He placed his hand on the small of my back, guiding me toward the door. Shall we? I glanced back at Emma, whose face had gone from flushed to pale. For a split second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then I remembered the photos, the coat, the deliberate wine spill. As we walked down the hallway, the developers trailing behind us, I leaned close to Michael and whispered, Isn't that a bit harsh?
His jaw tightened.
She spilled a full glass of Chateau Margaux on a coat you gave me for our anniversary. Harsh would be removing her from the project entirely. My heart softened despite myself. I'd forgotten that coat had been my gift, chosen after weeks of searching for the perfect shade of charcoal that would bring out his eyes. At the restaurant, Mr. Johnson couldn't stop apologizing. Mr. Wilson, I had no idea Miss Emma's presentation would be so unprofessional. We specifically requested their best designer. Michael cut into his steak with surgical precision. The design isn't the problem. It's adequate. But the execution, sloppy measurements, unrealistic timelines, and budget projections that would bankrupt us by the third quarter. I sipped my water, watching him. This was Michael in his element, ruthless, precise, and absolutely in control. The other executives nodded vigorously, some taking notes as he dissected every flaw in Emma's proposal. However, Michael continued, and everyone looked up. If she can fix these issues by end of day, we'll proceed. I don't let personal matters interfere with business. Mr. Johnson visibly relaxed. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Your fairness is legendary. I bit back a smile. Fairness.
Right.
Michael was giving Emma just enough rope to either save herself or hang herself with. And knowing Emma's work ethic, based on the slipshod presentation I'd glimpsed, I suspected I knew which it would be. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You think you've won? He'll get tired of you, eventually. They always do. I showed Michael the screen. His eyes darkened, and without a word, he took my phone, typed something, and handed it back. The message he'd sent read, This is Michael Wilson. Contact my wife again, and I'll have my legal team ensure your career ends before it begins. I'm CC&G, our company's general counsel, on this conversation. Michael, I whispered, isn't that excessive? He met my eyes. Sara, you are the one thing in my life I will be excessive about. By the time we returned to the office, it was nearly 2 p.m. Grace intercepted us at the elevator, her expression anxious. Mr. Wilson, Miss Emma has submitted her revisions. Michael checked his watch. 4 hours. Let's see if she's capable of basic competence. I followed him to the conference room, curiosity getting the better of me. Emma sat at the far end of the table, her eyes red-rimmed but defiant. Her box lunch sat untouched beside a laptop covered in sticky notes. Michael took his seat at the head of the table, and I settled beside him. He opened the revised file on the main screen, and I watched his expression carefully. Years of marriage had taught me to read the subtle shifts in his features, the slight narrowing of his eyes when he found an error, the minimal nod when something met his standards. 5 minutes passed in silence. 10. Emma fidgeted, her fingers drumming against the table until Michael's sharp glance made her stop. Finally, he closed the laptop. Better. Emma's face lit up with hope. But still not acceptable. The hope died instantly. Michael stood, buttoning his suit jacket. The structural calculations are still off by 3%. Your material costs are inflated. I called 2 suppliers during lunch and got quotes 30% lower. And your timeline assumes perfect weather conditions for 8 consecutive months, which any first-year intern knows is fantasy. But I only had 4 hours, Emma started. And you wasted 3 of them feeling sorry for yourself instead of doing the work. Michael's voice was calm, almost gentle, which made it more devastating. Mr. Johnson, I recommend you find another designer. Miss Emma clearly isn't ready for a project of this magnitude. Emma shot to her feet. You're doing this because I sent those photos. Because you're so whipped by your wife that you can't even see a woman without. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. Michael didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. You sent those photos because you assumed I was the type of man who could be tempted. You were wrong. You spilled wine on my coat because you thought creating a situation where I'd need your help would work. It didn't. And now, you're blaming your professional inadequacies on personal rejection. He turned to Mr. Johnson. If Miss Emma remains on this project, we're out. You have until 9 a.m. tomorrow to decide. Michael extended his hand to me. I took it, and we walked out together, leaving Emma standing there, her face a mask of humiliation and rage. In the elevator, alone, I finally let myself laugh. You enjoyed that way too much. I enjoyed defending you, he corrected, pulling me close. There's a difference. Am I forgiven for locking you out last night? His lips curved into a smile. Depends. Are you going to do it again? Probably, I admitted. Then no. But I'll still love you anyway. The next morning, I woke to find Michael already dressed, standing by the window with his phone pressed to his ear. His voice was low, professional, but I caught the edge of satisfaction in it. Yes, Mr. Johnson. I appreciate your understanding. We'll move forward with Chin Design Studio instead. They've never disappointed us. So Emma was out. I felt a small flutter of victory, then immediately felt guilty about it. But only a little. Michael ended the call and noticed I was awake. Good morning, beautiful. I stretched, yawning. Did you sleep at all? 4 hours. I had some calls with the Singapore office. He sat on the edge of the bed, brushing a strand of hair from my face. I have a meeting at 10, but I cleared my lunch. Want to get that Thai place you like? Before I could answer, my own phone rang. My mother. Sara, darling, I need you to meet me for lunch today. It's important. I glanced at Michael apologetically. Mom, I actually have plans. Bring Michael if you'd like. But this can't wait. Noon at the Jade Garden. She hung up before I could protest. I looked at Michael helplessly. Rain check on Thai food? Family emergency? Knowing my mother, probably just gossip about someone's daughter getting engaged. I sighed. But I should go. I'll come with you, he offered. You don't have to, Sara. He tilted my chin up. When have I ever let you face your mother alone? He had a point. My mother adored Michael, but she also had a talent for asking invasive questions that I preferred to deflect with his help. At 11:55 a.m., we arrived at the Jade Garden to find my mother already seated, looking impeccable in a cream silk blouse. But she wasn't alone. Sitting across from her was Emma. I froze in the doorway. Michael's hand tightened on mine, and I felt his entire body tense beside me. My mother waved cheerfully.
Sara.
Michael, come, sit. I wanted to meet my friend Rebecca's daughter. Emma, this is my daughter Sara and her husband Michael. Emma's smile was poisonous sweet. We've already met, Mrs. Chen. Michael and I are working on a project together. Michael corrected coldly. Past tense. My mother's eyes darted between us, confusion flickering across her face. Did I interrupt something? I forced a smile and sat down, Michael beside me.
No, Mom.
What did you want to talk about? But my mother was already distracted, looking at Emma with new interest. You're working with Michael? How wonderful. Rebecca always said you were brilliant at design. Sara, you never mentioned. Because there's nothing to mention, I said firmly. Emma was removed from the project this morning due to substandard work. Emma's composure cracked. That's not, he removed me because your calculations were wrong, your budgets were inflated, and your timeline was unrealistic, Michael said evenly. Would you like me to email you the detailed report I sent to your supervisor? My mother's expression shifted from confused to concerned. Emma, dear, is this true? For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her again. Almost. Then she turned to my mother with tears in her eyes. Mrs. Chun, he's lying. He removed me because I rejected his advances. He's been inappropriate with me for weeks, and when I finally told him I wasn't interested, he retaliated professionally. The silence that followed was deafening. I watched my mother's face carefully. She looked at Emma, then at Michael, then at me. Years of reading my mother's expressions told me exactly what she was thinking, and it wasn't favorable toward Emma. My mother set down her teacup with deliberate precision. Emma, dear, how long have you known my son-in-law? Emma blinked, caught off guard. About 3 weeks. I see. My mother's smile was razor-thin. And in those 3 weeks, you've assessed that Michael Wilson, a man who's been faithfully married to my daughter for 6 years, who calls me every Sunday without fail, who once flew back from Tokyo in the middle of a business trip because Sara had the flu, suddenly decided to risk everything for you? Emma's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. Rebecca's daughter, my mother continued, her voice dropping to that particular tone that meant someone was about to be eviscerated. I knew your mother in college. She was always very creative with the truth as well. Apparently, it runs in the family. I sat very still, trying not to smile. Michael, however, had pulled out his phone. Mrs. Chun, if I may. He turned the screen toward my mother. These are the timestamps from our company's security system. Every interaction Miss Emma and I had was in the presence of at least 4 other people, except for twice, both times in the conference room with glass walls, fully visible to the entire floor. He swiped to another screen. These are the emails she sent to my work account after hours. Note the tone and content. My mother scrolled through them, her expression growing colder with each message. The emails were full of suggestive language, requests for private meetings, and in one particularly damning message, a suggestion that they grab drinks without the boring colleagues. And this, Michael said, pulling up one final image, is the security footage from the business dinner where she spilled wine on my coat. Note how she stands up, turns toward me, and extends her arm deliberately. Not an accident. Emma had gone white. My mother handed the phone back to Michael and stood up. Emma, I think you should leave. But Mrs. Chun. Now. Emma grabbed her purse and fled, nearly knocking over a waiter in her haste. My mother sat back down and poured herself more tea, her hands perfectly steady. Sara, I apologize. Rebecca called me yesterday, saying her daughter was being harassed at work and needed support. I should have asked you first. It's fine, Mom. I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. You were trying to help. Still. She looked at Michael with approval. You handled that well. Though I never doubted you for a moment. Thank you, Mrs. Chun. However, she continued, and I braced myself, I do wonder why you kept this from me. If Emma was causing problems, I could have spoken to Rebecca directly and saved everyone the trouble. Michael and I exchanged glances. He spoke first. We didn't want to worry you. And honestly, I didn't take her seriously as a threat until she started affecting Sara. My mother nodded slowly. That coat she ruined, the charcoal one? The anniversary gift, I confirmed. My mother's expression turned calculating. I'll call Rebecca this afternoon. Emma's behavior reflects poorly on their family. Rebecca will handle it appropriately. I knew exactly what handle it appropriately meant in my mother's social circle. By tomorrow, every important family in the city would know what Emma had done. Her reputation would be finished. Mom, isn't that a bit excessive? My mother smiled, and I saw where I'd gotten my protective streak. Sara, darling, you are my only daughter. No one messes with what's mine. Michael laughed quietly. I said almost the exact same thing yesterday. Of course you did. That's why I approved of you marrying her. My mother stood gracefully. Now I have a salon appointment. Enjoy your lunch. And Sara, next time someone bothers you, tell me immediately. That's what mothers are for. She kissed my cheek and swept out of the restaurant, leaving Michael and me alone. I looked at him, feeling a complex mix of emotions. Did we just ruin someone's life? No, Michael said firmly. She ruined her own life by making terrible choices. We just made sure there were consequences. I know, but... He took my hand across the table. Sara, if we'd done nothing, she would have kept pushing boundaries. With us, with someone else. Better she learns this lesson now. I nodded, knowing he was right, but still feeling uneasy. Besides, he added with a slight smile, your mother's scary when she's protecting you. I'm glad I'm on her good side. That made me laugh. You're always on her good side. You can do no wrong in her eyes.
Good.
I plan to keep it that way. He signaled for the waiter. Now, let's actually enjoy this lunch. And tonight, no locked doors? I pretended to consider it. We'll see how the rest of the day goes. His eyes gleamed with challenge. Is that so? Then I'd better be on my very best behavior. As we ordered, I felt the tension from the past few days finally start to dissolve. Emma was gone. The project would move forward. And I had my husband back, not that I'd ever really lost him. Still, as the waiter brought our food, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't quite over. Emma had been humiliated publicly, ruined professionally, and, according to my mother's plans, would soon be a social pariah. People didn't just accept that kind of defeat quietly. But for now, I pushed the worry aside and focused on Michael, on the lunch we were sharing, and on the fact that no matter what came next, we'd face it together.
Just like we always did.